Welcome back to a timey-wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca,
I'm Haley.
and today we are talking about Space Babies, which premiered May 10th, 2024, and was written by Russell T. Davis and directed by Julie Ann Robinson.
This is the first official, okay, we'll talk about this in a second, but this is the first official episode of Shooty's run. We, of course, have the Church on Ruby Road, which is the Christmas special.
But this is the beginning of his first full season as the Doctor.
It is. It is. And if you, like us, watched this episode on Disney Plus, you would have probably also noticed that for some bizarre reason, Disney is considering this episode, the Space Babies episode, to be the second episode of Series 1, which makes zero sense.
Yeah, I don't know why they just didn't leave it as its own individual thing like they did for all the 60th specials.
I don't either. Or even just kept it at like 0.
I know. Or just, you're Disney. You can't just label it a Christmas special.
Yeah, because if you look at all past Christmas specials, it's never been numbered ever like that.
Yeah. Well, so a little behind the scenes, we are recording this the same night that the new episodes dropped, and we haven't talked about them at all with each other yet.
It has been so hard to not say a single thing to Rebecca because it's so exciting that a whole new era is upon us, and it's wild because we both made the decision that for every episode, we are not going to talk about anything about it with each other until we start talking about it on the podcast. So I have no clue what Rebecca thought about this episode. She has no clue what I thought about this episode, and it's crazy. The reason that we're recording tonight is because that's how it worked out, and so because of that, we unfortunately don't have fantastic facts unless you have a surprise.
I have one fantastic fact.
Oh.
Because like we said, that we're recording just a few hours after the episode came out, so there's just not a lot of trivia around yet. But my one fantastic fact is about Julian Robinson, who directed this episode. She directed 2 episodes of Bridgerton, which I thought was kind of ironic considering who's in this episode, and the connections between Doctor Who and Bridgerton are just growing a lot. It's getting crazy. But she also directed the pilot of the 2014 ABC comedy Selfie with Karen Gillan. Do you remember that show? She did.
I love that show. Now I could tell you absolutely nothing about it except that
Same.
Karen Gillan is in it. I was obsessed, and I was so upset it got canceled.
Me too.
Then.
Everyone go watch Selfie. It's Karen Gillan is hilarious, and it shouldn't have been canceled.
No, it shouldn't have. And you did mention that we do have an act. Well, you didn't say this, but there is someone who was in Bridgerton in this episode. Would you like to share with everyone who may not be aware who that is?
Yes. So Jocelyn, or the Nan-E in this episode, is played by Golda Brashul, who plays Queen Charlotte in the Bridgerton series.
I find it really interesting that we have her in this episode, and then later on in this series, we have the episode Rogue, which is very Bridgerton inspired, it seems.
And in the trailer, Ruby Sunday even mentions Bridgerton, so it's kind of funny. But the amount of castmates that have been on both Bridgerton and Doctor Who, it's an ever-growing list. So we're going to have to keep track of it as we go back and rewatch the old episodes.
Very interesting. I personally haven't seen Bridgerton. The only knowledge I have about it is from Twitter, because for some reason, even though I don't watch the show, that's all my Twitter is about.
We all have those shows that Twitter or TikTok will think we watched, even though we've never seen an episode. Never.
Are you ready to get into this episode?
Yes. Let's just jump into it. What did you think of the opening? Because the opening is essentially like the last minute of the Church on Ruby Road.
I really liked this opening shot of Ruby walking up to the TARDIS and then
Mm-hmm.
going inside. It looked beautiful. It was a really sweet moment, and I really liked that that's how this episode was opened up. The first episode of this series is opened up, so I liked it. What about you?
I really liked it too. This episode is definitely like a Doctor Who crash course if you've never seen the show. Like that first scene of them on the TARDIS is just them being like, "This is the show. This is what's happening. Here's what you need to know. Okay, let's go."
Let's talk about that a little bit more of the doctor introducing Ruby to his life and parts about him because he name drops a few figures and he also calls the Time Lords posh, which is just really funny to me.
Yeah. He's not wrong. We got a Ronnie name drop, which is pretty exciting. Shout out to all the Ronnie fans. And then what else does he say in this scene? I like can't even remember.
I have my notes. I think he says something about the Conquistador, but I'm unfamiliar with who that is. I
Yeah,
haven't watched any classic Who, so I don't know if that's a classic Who character or if it's just something he mentioned in passing that we haven't seen yet. But I did find it interesting that there was no name drop, like there was no drop about the master at all.
I know that was very interesting, but I feel like that was almost purposeful of Russell to not name drop the master. So he's like, the master's not coming. This isn't a hint. He's not coming because earlier this week, Russell T Davis said that the master is essentially parked. We're not going to see him for a little bit because we've had so much master in the past couple years.
Which, like, I really hope that continues to ring true because I want a good break
Yeah,
from the
I love the
master.
master. I'll be happy to see them again, but we've gotten a lot, and we need to do some new stuff. What did you think about the scene of them going to go see the dinosaurs and Ruby stepping on the butterfly?
So this was a scene that was in one of the trailers or several of the
Mm-hmm.
trailers, and I was really looking forward to kind of the lore behind it. Kind of sad that that scene was just like a brief scene. Like I think that could have been a cool episode setting, but that's okay. I find it interesting that here, I have it written down in my notes because I forgot how it was worded. Oh, I said, since when do butterflies talk through humans? And wait, butterfly compensation switch is a thing apparently that the
Yeah,
15th Doctor didn't have on in his new TARDIS.
I
So that's
know.
interesting.
Yeah, I kind of I from the trailer I knew it was just gonna be like a 1 minute kind of gag, and it was. I think it's one of those things. If they cut it from the episode, nothing would have changed. But it's funny. I like
It
seeing the
is funny.
dinosaurs.
Same. Um, Briefly going back to when they're talking in the TARDIS, the 15th Doctor says that Gallifrey is gone.
Yeah.
So that's the narrative for this series is that Gallifrey is gone. We will see if Russell will bring it back or a showrunner in the far future will bring it back because it's been a back and forth thing since the
Yeah.
original Russell T Davies run.
Yeah, it's I have a lot of thoughts on that I will save for another day.
Yes. What are your thoughts on where they ended up? A baby farm.
Okay, I the baby farm was not as like ridiculous as I mean it was ridiculous, but I really liked it. I liked the little space station ran by the babies. The way they talked though was so distracting to me at first because they're babies and they're talking like people and watching their mouths moved. It just like didn't line up with what they were saying. So it was just like really distracting to me at first. But over time I kind of got over it and ignored it.
So I have thoughts. My first thought when I saw the babies and like the glass chamber things, I can't lie. I was like, do what? what's happening? But then I saw that the space babies were controlling the space station, and it was just
Mhm.
very interesting. And I honestly didn't know if I was sad that they were because they were abandoned, or if I was disturbed that babies were running the space station. I really don't know why I had that reaction
Yeah, I would say it was a little in between there too, yeah.
because I expected like the space babies to be a part of the plot, obviously. I didn't think they would be the main part of the plot.
Oh, I kind of expected them to be the main plot, considering this episode is called Space Babies.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Is Ruby a space baby from a baby farm like this?
No, I don't think so.
It would be too easy, but
It would
that
be
was the
too
thought I
easy.
had.
Yeah. They talk a lot about Ruby's origins in this episode, and even the doctor points out that, there's a connection with her and babies because, when they met, there was a baby, and now there's babies, and she was a baby. So there's a lot of babies going around, which is kind of funny. Let's talk about the scene where it starts snowing in the station.
Okay, that scene, literally, I was like, what's going on? What's happening?
Yeah, that
I
was so
don't
weird.
remember. I don't remember in the Church of Ruby Road of the hooded figure like pointing to the doctor.
I don't think it did. They did, yeah. But
Okay.
I don't know, but I kind of saw the snow as being more Ruby's doing somehow than the doctor's. Like, even though it's his memory of being in the snow, because obviously she doesn't remember, she was a baby, I think it's more something about her that's making that happen because we've never seen that before.
Interesting. I more took it as, the whole like salt at the edge of the universe thing and how we've been told we're
Mm,
getting more fantasy. I was thinking it was a situation because of that.
interesting.
Like that's how we get the snow.
Maybe. I did really like this scene though, and I thought it was a good emotional moment.
It is a good emotional moment. Going back a little bit to when Ruby and the doctor are looking out like at the view. It's giving End of the World from from the 2005 series 1.
Yeah,
This is
and
so
it
confusing.
it really is. It really gives End of the World because Ruby mentions her mom, and then the doctor sonics her phone so she can call her mom back in 2024 or 2023, whatever.
Yeah, and she says, "The human race survived. We made it to the stars," which is
I love
exactly what
that.
Nine says.
I know, and I love that line. It got me. I thought it was really sweet.
So sweet.
I love getting to like see the space station. I love that the babies all get around by through like strollers, and there's like little
Yeah.
drawings on the walls. I thought that was so cute. It just looks like a little daycare in space.
I know, they were all really adorable, I'm not gonna lie, and I loved how Ruby was so caring and went to them to comfort them, and
hmm
how the doctor was totally messing with the babies. It was a great vibe, it was a fun vibe. I love the dynamic between the doctor and Ruby in this episode.
I'd watch a whole episode of them just, trying to take care of a space daycare. I thought it was so funny. No, I loved, 15 going into dad mode and both of them talking to the babies and they were so scared of the boogeyman and it was cute.
Low key though, I was waiting for a moment in this episode for it to turn out that they weren't actually babies and it was just like a perception filter thing. And it was like a
Oh.
case with, like the meep, but
Oh.
no, they were actually babies the whole time, which I guess is nice.
Yeah. No, they were so sweet. And it's so we find out essentially that this is a baby farm and there's another crew on the ship, the adult crew, taking care of everything. And basically, there were budget cuts. So the crew came home, but they left the babies. And all that's left was Jocelyn.
Yeah, and Ruby and the doctor go and they meet Jocelyn, find out she's the nanny. And while they're asking her about, like, what's the context, why are these babies abandoned, Jocelyn shows them, like, videos of the crew and, like, the stating they were leaving. The
Mm-hmm.
last lady to sign off, same old lady in Wild Blue Yonder and their church on Ruby Road in the club.
Is it really? I didn't notice.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one who clocked it because someone on Reddit clocked it as well.
Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Your theory is really, it's really coming to life.
I know. Am I a mastermind?
You might be. Dang. We have so much going on. We have so many mystery boxes. Like, I'm so curious to see what is going to be happening throughout the rest of the season.
Me too. What are your thoughts on the boogeyman? Sorry, they call it bogeyman, but here in the US, for us,
Yeah,
it's the
we're calling
boogeyman.
it the boogeyman. Sorry, guys. We're gonna USify. I thought it looked really creepy. It reminded me of the alien from Alien, the movie. And yeah, it looked like a boogeyman. So I thought wasn't necessarily scared by it, but I did like that 15 was like, "Oh, I'm scared. Like, why am I scared by this?" And so I thought that was really interesting.
Me too. I thought the boogeyman looked great aesthetically.
Definitely. What did you think about the reveal that the boogeyman was there because the ship basically created this story for the babies?
I don't really have thoughts either way. It didn't really surprise me. Like, it
Mhm.
wasn't like a plot twist moment. But at the same time, I was like, oh, like the computer in the space station is trying to help the babies have a
Yeah.
story.
I find it a little confusing to be honest, but I did like the ending and I especially will get to it, but I love when 15 saves the boogeyman and Ruby, and Jocelyn have their moment and everyone ends up fine and I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, I agree. I will say it was a little bit confusing to me as well because towards the end of the episode, when the nanny Jocelyn is trying to get the boogeyman out of the airlock,
Mhm.
I forget who says it, but someone says the boogeyman is one of the children. And I was so confused. And I don't know what they meant by that.
Well, it's I think just because the boogeyman comes from like their snot. He's
Oh,
the
I didn't even
children.
think of that.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
Which, side note, can we talk about that? Because Ruby freaking out about the snot is me.
So she's so real for that. I'd be freaking out too.
I would have a panic attack on the spot. I can't even tell you.
Yeah. Oh, same. No. It that was gross. Going back a little, so when we meet Jocelyn, she says that she just stays in that room. She doesn't really like interact with the babies personally because she doesn't want to watch them die because the ship or the space station only has limited air, limited food and water and they can't go anywhere. They can't go to the next planet because it's a space station that doesn't have an engine. And so I thought that was really sad and the actress did just had a great performance in this episode. She's brilliant, which is no surprise, of course.
Yeah, I found her really striking in a very emotionally painful way that she just could not like emotionally handle that. And I don't
Mhm.
blame her at all because the thought of that is so heartbreaking. So yeah, I feel similarly to you.
I love when baby Eric goes with his little toy sword to go confront the boogeyman and he says he's doing it for Ruby and he's gonna be brave. I thought it was so cute.
So cute. He was like, I love Ruby. She said the boogeyman isn't real. And he's down there with his little toy sword. And it's just, like you said,
Yeah.
so cute.
I love the scene where 15 tries to send Ruby back up to be with the babies and she says, "If this is you trying to get rid of me, well, aha, I'm not going anywhere." Very classic doctor companion interaction. It never gets old.
No, it doesn't. I love it every time. I eat it up every time. It will never be old for me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love that Eric's okay. Like he
Yeah.
just hid. Which, like, did he crawl out of his stroller and then crawl in that little, like, crawl space area? Did he teleport? Like, what was the situation there?
How do the babies get around? It's a little crazy. Like, why are they like mentally aging but not physically aging? There's a lot of
Yeah.
questions about these
Because they've been
babies.
there for like 6 years, is what they've
Yeah.
said.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know if they were like in those like glass chamber things for a long time or what.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. Also in real life, are these real babies with CGI, or all these babies CGI? Because I could not figure it out. Because I went back and forth. I'm like, oh, these are real children, and then I'm like, no, they're not.
I don't know either. I don't know. They kind of look real, but their mouths are definitely CGI'd, to make them move
Yeah,
like that. So we'll have to do some digging.
we will. We will. Can we talk about the babies coming to 15 and Ruby's rescue with a flamethrower?
Yes.
Like, that was so random.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. I want to talk about the airlock scene. Ruby and the doctor figure out what the boogeyman is, and before they can get back and tell Jocelyn, she's like, I have to protect the babies. I have to, save them. So she, saves Ruby and the doctor and essentially opens the airlock to get rid of the boogeyman. And the doctor's watching this happen, and he's thinking to himself, and we see him having flashbacks and having that moment where it's like, this is just a creature, this is just the only one of their kind. And it kind of goes back to what he said in the beginning, where it's like there's no such thing as monsters, just friends we haven't met yet, or creatures we haven't met yet. And then he saves the boogeyman, and I really liked that scene. I thought that was really good.
I agree with you. It was a really good scene.
Yeah. And I love that the babies will call him like their doggo, and at the end when they were all like howling. That was
That was
funny.
really cute. Yeah, and funny. I agree. I find it interesting that the babies did not want the boogeyman to like go away. Like,
Oh
they were scared
yeah.
of the boogeyman, but they didn't want him to go like out of the airlock or anything.
That's very like, yeah, I thought that was cute. I feel like that's very like a kid thing to do. Like, you're like kind of scared of something, but you don't really want it to like die or go away or something. When like you're at a party and there's a dog and their kid, and the kid is kind of scared of the dog, but also like really interested in the dog at the same time. So I thought it was cute.
That's a good comparison. What do you think of the nanny Jocelyn trying to airlock out the boogeyman? Do you think she was right for doing that? Like, what are your feelings?
Well, at that time, she didn't know what it was. And I think she was just trying to protect the babies. And yeah, it's, a little dark if we really narrow it down. And she did try to like kill this creature before she understood it, which is kind of messed up. But she was doing it to protect them.
Yeah, I agree. She wasn't doing it out of maliciousness. She was doing
No.
it as a very mama bear instinct sort of thing, where she wanted to protect these children. So I completely understand her position. And I
Yeah.
like that everyone was able to find forgiveness for her at the end, including the doctor, and
Hmm.
understanding. I liked that.
I really liked when Ruby and the doctor were going back to the TARDIS, and Ruby gets her TARDIS key.
The classic TARDIS key handoff, and every time a companion gets the TARDIS key, I love it. Which, something I just realized, Amy Pond never got a key, did she?
We never saw her get a key. We did not. I don't think
Did
we ever
any
saw Yaz or 13's companions get a key either, or Bill for that matter.
Yeah, did Clara? Yeah, she
Yes,
did. She
Clara
did.
did. I think we can like assume like Amy, Yaz, everyone had a key. We just didn't get to see them get a key.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll keep that headcanon.
Yeah. But I love that we get to see it, and the
Mhm.
dynamic between 15 and Ruby is already my favorite thing ever. They're already so iconic. The best friend vibes. They really are just like a bunch of school kids, like a school best friends, and I love it. They're so iconic.
They're so good together, and I love that we have a best friend vibe again between the doctor and a
Yes.
companion. I don't remember if we've said it before, but me and Rebecca both feel very similarly, where there's really only two people that it's okay for for us to accept that the doctor loves and would be romantic with. Everyone else is a no.
I just don't like doctor companion romantic relationships. Obviously there's exceptions because we've spent how many hours already talking about Rose and the Doctor. Um and there's other ships I love that we'll get into later. But
Hmm.
yeah, in general, I think it's best that there are no doctor companion relationships. It's just weird, but it can be
I
done
agree.
correctly.
I agree. It has to be done correctly, and it can be done. But for now, in this present day, love the best friend vibe. Shooty
Mhm.
and Millie are adorable together, both on and off screen.
Yes.
It makes me really happy that we have them for this series.
Yes. They just bring such a new life, and I like I feel like I could watch the two of them do anything cuz they're just so fun and dynamic, and they have great chemistry as actors, and it just works so well, and I love it.
I completely agree. It's interesting to me that at the end, he tells Ruby he can never, ever bring her to the church on Ruby Road, ever.
I know. I thought that was so interesting.
My immediate thought was Father's Day really did a number on him when it came to companions going back in time for a family member. Like, he just knows, like, he can't risk that. That's my headcanon. But I'm wondering if the reality is more because he knows there's something hinky with the hooded figure. He knows there's something there, plus the whole goblin trying
Mm.
to steal baby Ruby in the church on Ruby Road thing. So I don't quite know his full reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I think his reasoning, what he tells her, that is part of it. Like, if they go back, if they try to meet her mom, that will potentially change things, and potentially mean Ruby wouldn't end up with Carla and Cherry and ever meet the Doctor in the first place. And it could just, like he said, end up in a terrible paradox. But also, Father's Day definitely came to mind in this scene as well. I think that has to be a part of it as well.
Absolutely.
And then, but Ruby's reaction to him saying this is so heartbreaking. Like the way her face drops, it makes me so sad because here she was like, maybe she's probably thinking like this is her one way she could finally know, and she's still not gonna know who her parents are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really sad. But then I loved when she was like, "No, you're wrong. We are gonna go see my mom on Christmas." And of course, they went to go see Carla, and I thought that was so cute. Except that the TARDIS destroys their kitchen. This poor apartment is so destroyed. It's like ruined.
I know. I feel bad for Carla and Cherry.
Also, the way that the TARDIS has been landing is very destructive. Like the way it landed on the ship, it like slid. It didn't just like
Yeah.
materialize. It's really, I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know how I feel about it either. And Wild Blue Yonder, didn't it also kind of destructively
I
land?
Yeah, I believe so.
Is there reasoning or Is it the choice just intentionally chaotic just for fun?
They're like, we got that Disney Plus money. We're going to use it.
I thought it was hilarious that he told Ruby, "Tell your mother not to slap me."
Oh, yes. I
And
love that. He has to warn people now because it keeps happening to him.
it keeps happening to him. I mean, Jackie Tyler started it all.
Of course she did. And she is the mother of Doctor Who mothers.
She really is.
So before he leaves the TARDIS, we see that he has scanned Ruby to basically see, you know, what's going on with her. Very reminiscent of 11 scanning Amy in series 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts going on about, you know, Time Lords having titles again, and then he says, "But my name was or is," I forget what he said, and but then he walks out the TARDIS, so we didn't get to hear him say it. But did he just tell them his name so nonchalantly like that?
I have to rewatch that scene. I thought he was just
Oh,
gonna say my name is the doctor.
he made it the way it was worded was like, "Oh, but my name was," like he was gonna tell them his actual name, which I was like, can he do that?
Okay. I'm sorry. If he did that, I'm sorry. Good for you, doctor, for telling your truth. Don't do it with your name, please. Just don't. We've had
Yeah,
so many years where he refuses to tell any. The only people who know are River and Clara. The
yeah.
only people.
Hmm.
It's been a thing for so long. We don't need to know his name.
Yeah, I never want to know the doctor's name. I think it's a fun mystery. I like the mystery of like, ooh, what is it? But I don't ever want that to be answered.
Same. I would like to know, but I don't ever want to know at the same time.
Same. No, totally. Exactly.
Yeah. I paused at the DNA scan moment
Hmm.
to see if I could see anything.
I'm glad you
On
did
the
because I
yeah,
didn't.
on the DNA scan, it said her age was 10 years and 43 hours, but the scan was only 71% done, so that can mean absolutely nothing.
That is weird.
But it does say she's a Homo sapien, so she's a human.
Interesting.
Don't
And did you notice
yeah.
it was snowing in the TARDIS?
Yeah, that was a way to end this episode.
Yeah, definitely. What are your overall thoughts about this episode?
I enjoyed this episode. It definitely kept my attention the whole time. Like I said, love the dynamic between 15 and Ruby. That being said, as an opening episode, this is probably when I'm looking back all the way from series 1 in 2005, Space Babies would probably be on the lower end of my ranking in terms of
Yeah.
episodes that are openers for a season. It's not horrible though. It's just it's not my favorite at the same time, but I don't hate it at all. I don't dislike it. It's just there. It's just one of those episodes.
Yeah. I went into it knowing, okay, this isn't going to be my favorite episode of all time. This is going to be very
Mhm.
campy. I'm ready for it. And I think because of that, I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I thought I was going to. And just the dynamic between 15 and Ruby is so fun to watch. So seeing them interact, like that dynamic is just so fun. And I would watch them do laundry because their personalities and the way they talk is so funny, and I love it. They work so well together. Best friend vibes. I absolutely love it. And I really liked the babies, and I liked Jocelyn, and I thought it was interesting. It's not the best episode ever. It's not the best Russell series opener, that's for sure. But I liked it more than I was expecting.
Yeah, I went into it very similarly where I knew this was going to be a very campy episode. I knew it wasn't going to be a favorite. And I think that took a lot of expectations off of
Hmm.
it for me so that I was also able to enjoy it like you were. So, yeah, I'm glad I went in with that mindset because I think if I had the mindset and expectation of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 10 out of 10 episode, I would have been disappointed. But I'm not at all
Yeah.
because I kind of expected it based on the title and what we saw in trailers that it was going to be campy. It was going to be just like a fun episode. So, yeah.
Completely agree. What do you think the heart of this episode is?
I think the heart of this episode is just like the launch pad of Ruby and 15's dynamic and friendship and the beginning of their adventures together.
I agree. I think it's also, the doctor said, I am the only one of my kind. I am the only one like me. And so is everyone. We are all just the only one of us. And I don't know, there's something in that. And I thought it was really sweet, both seeing Ruby and the doctor, two people who don't know where they came from, don't know who their families were, helping these little babies who were abandoned and who they don't know really where they come from.
Yeah, I love the line that you mentioned that 15 said. It slipped my mind to mention it, but now that you said it, I want to talk about it. There's no one like you in the universe, and that's true for all of us. I think that
Mhm.
is such a beautiful message to be in Doctor Who, to be in any show, really. And I just
Yeah.
love the way Shooty performed that in
Mhm.
that scene and just like how natural it was. And it was just like a feel good quote.
I loved also, I forget when exactly in the episode he says it, but when Ruby's looking out at space and he says, I do it for days like this, watching I don't have a home, I don't have a planet or people, but I don't have a job either or responsibilities. I have freedom and I just Shooty Gatwa already has my heart. I'm already totally on board for him as the doctor. I think we've mentioned before, usually when there's a new doctor, I feel like it takes me a minute to get used to it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
all on board the Shooty Gatwa train. I love him as the 15th Doctor. It was perfectly cast and the perfect person to usher in this new era of the show.
I completely and fully agree.
Now, usually, if you listened to any of our past episodes, which you should, we like to read reviews from the past, but today, since we are recording on the same night this episode came out, we're going to do something no one should ever do, which is we're going to read Reddit comments.
I have some gems for you guys and for Rebecca.
I'm
Some
ready.
are funny, some are like actual like thoughts about the episode in terms of like what they thought about
Hmm.
the episode. So I'm just gonna start off with a little bit of a banger.
Okay.
You get this, Ruby Sunday, a TARDIS key. Your chances of being stranded on a parallel world, becoming a Cyberman, being displaced in time by a weeping angel, getting your memories erased, or just burning out and getting PTSD have now increased dramatically.
So true. You should say the username and what forum you're.
Oh, yes. That was on the Doctor Who subreddit, and that was MMC into Schmirk underscore 88.
Love it. I will say that scene where Ruby was like, "Oh, here come the terms and conditions." I did think the doctor was going to be like, "Just so you know, there's been other people and bad things have happened."
I thought he was going to say, just so you know, I can't guarantee you'll be safe.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
maybe another day.
Again, on the Doctor Who subreddit, user Bono8HX said, loving the chemistry between the Doctor and Ruby. I have no idea what is going on in this episode, though.
That pretty much sums this episode up, if I'm being honest.
Walker9702, also on the Doctor Who subreddit, said, I get that this is an entry point for new viewers of the show, but the exposition for catching them up to that end feels very rushed and poorly done. A moment that especially stood out to me was when the Doctor mentioned the genocide of his people. It's just sort of there in the middle of an info dump, like it doesn't really matter, without a significant emotional reaction from Ruby. What little emphasis is given is to specifically continue beating you over the head with the shared theme of both the Doctor and Ruby being orphans. Doing this with this theme is a big problem with the rest of the episode as well. I don't know. The way he drops "my people were genocided" in the middle of the conversation like it's nothing, and Ruby reacts like it's nothing, and they both just move on, felt really strange to me.
I do kind of agree. I wish that there was a more emotional beat when he said that. But I think the reason they probably played it like that is we've seen that before. You know, we've seen the Doctor
Yeah.
be like, I'm the last of my kind. And we've seen the companion, you know, have that moment with him. We saw it with Rose, we saw it with Martha, we saw it with other companions. So I think that was just kind of a way of, for you know, continuing viewers being like, okay, we know this, we've seen this, we don't need to like keep pressing on this. But it is weird to be like, yeah, all my people died in a genocide and it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I think is hard now because like you said, there were so many moments with 9, with 10, with 11, with even 12, I think,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 13. I can't clearly remember where there was just very emotional moments of
Yeah,
talking about the fate of Gallifrey and the fate of Time Lords that I think it's just hard to kind of choose which way to go now because it's all been done. I do think the criticism is completely valid though, for it just kind of
yeah,
being said and then moved past really quickly.
definitely.
Wave Jam on the Doctor Who subreddit said, "My fiance, who is a casual Who fan at best, and I, as Doctor Who superfan, had a really fun time with this episode. My fiance had his doubts at first, but the chemistry between the Doctor and Ruby is so fresh and fun that he had a complete 180 and really enjoyed it. I love that the newly healed Doctor is just absolutely dunking on Ruby and laughing at her getting snot all over her."
Yes, I love that scene of them being like, "Oh, you don't want to know what it is." But yeah, and I love that it's, you know, this is bringing such fresh life into the show, and I love that new people are getting into it, and I hope all the new people go back and see all the wonderful episodes that have come before this. But I'm really excited that more people are, you know, coming in to the show now and talking about it.
I completely agree. And I think we're going to close out on this winner of a comment because this, once I saw this comment, it all clicked.
Oh.
Hot Takes for Hot Cakes on the Doctor Who subreddit said, "I just realized why I don't care for the new Sonic. It's not that it isn't a rod, it's that it looks like a gadget from Spy Kids."
Yeah, it does, but I'm used to it. I'm like, okay, this is the Sonic now. That's fine.
Yeah, there are so many comments, so many mixed feelings as there is with any new episode of Doctor Who.
Mhm.
So yeah, it will be interesting to see how the reviews of the show in the media are.
Yeah, so far, and we're just like we said at time of recording, it's only been a couple hours.
Yeah,
But I'm feeling seeing kind of a mixed bag. Like people like it. There's things they don't like, but there's a lot of good coming, and I think I'm excited to see what's the rest of the season has in store.
me too. I'm very excited. I feel like it can only go up from here.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I'm really looking forward to all of the mysteries being unveiled.
So because of the fact that two episodes dropped at the same time, we're gonna be or we're filming or not we're filming we're recording and us dropping episodes. It's gonna be a little timey-wimey, a little all over the place. So we will be back next week with the Devil's Cord. So we'll be like a week behind. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Devil's Cord and everything we learn in that episode. That's the Beatles episode.
Hmm.
Very fascinated on
Yeah.
what's going to go down.
I'm excited to watch that. I think it sounds like there's a lot happening.
With all that said, thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, if you have any thoughts, comments, theories, questions, DM us on Instagram, email us at timeywimeypod@gmail.com, and follow us on our TikTok. And our social media handle is
At Timey Wimey Pod, and we'll be posting updates about when we're dropping episodes and all that. So make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
bye, guys.
Bye.